Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone's enjoying the first snow day of the year. So this is how this is going to work. You do have your quiz on Monday. So we're going to talk about the Mongols today. I'm going to give you the same lecture as I gave yesterday to the kids as you would have gotten today. You need to watch this. I'm going to give you 3 questions during this video. You need to answer those questions and email me so I know that you've watched the video and that you have thought about some of these questions that I've given you. Once you do that, I will email back to you, respond with your study guide. The study guide is going to include pretty much what you need to know. Make sure you are studying more than just what is the word means. Make sure you read about that word. Make sure you understand larger concepts, especially when I say comparing. At the bottom of the study guide, you will see 3 possible SAQs. Those are the 3 topics that the SAQs are going to be about. So you should take some time to work on those as well. I'm trying to help you guys out here. You guys have to put some work in. Alright, the Mongols. So sorry you guys don't get to experience everyone's favorite lecture for some reason. I think it's just the death and destruction that comes with the Mongols. So big picture of the Mongols. You're not going to need to know all the ins and outs. What you need to understand about the Mongols is that they are actually going to cause a lot of disruption in the post-classical era. That's why we put them at the end. I mean, they're at the end time-wise, but also they're going to bring about a lot of disruption, and they're going to interrupt all of the major post-classical civilizations, empires. They do massive amounts of, they bring about massive amounts of change. They extended the world network through redefining long-distance trade. The Silk Road is going to be very tied to whoever is in charge of China and whoever's in charge or is the strength within Asia itself. So the years that China's not doing a whole lot, or China's not worried about trade, or China is not strong, like the Six Dynasties period, the Silk Road is not going to be as safe. But when you have a strong presence like the Mongols, who are very interested in trade, then the Silk Road is going to be safer. And the Mongols do a lot to help foster trade along the Silk Road. They're going to create, as you're going to see, relay stations. They're going to make, they're going to give passage to merchants. They are going to do things to make trade more accessible. Genghis Khan, there's a couple of different ways you're going to see his name. This Chengiz, Genghis, and later on you're going to see Temujin, which is his given name. Khan is not his name. Khan is his title. And you're going to see that given to a lot of different people, whether they become the head of the Mongol Empire or not. If you are in charge of the entire Mongol Empire, you are the Great Khan. So Genghis Khan is the first Great Khan. The Mongols are going to split up their empire into multiple sections for better bureaucratic reasons, to keep better control of their vast, humongous empire. So each of those are going to be a khanate run by a khan, but everything is run by the Great Khan. They're going to take so much area, okay, Central Asia, China, Persia, Iraq, Tibet, that's in the Himalayas, Asia Minor, and not just southern Russia, just Russia. This is the last nomadic group to be a formidable challenge to settled civilizations. We started the post-classical era with a nomadic group, the Bedouins in Arabia, and we're going to end with a nomadic group in the Mongols. Kind of fitting. Remember the difference between pastoralist and agriculturalist. Just because they're nomadic, pastoralist does not mean they're not civilized or they're not advanced. Now, they're not necessarily going to be as advanced or as civilized, but they're also not these hunting and gathering groups of the past. So just because they're not settled doesn't mean that they are lesser. Pastoralists are going to offer women higher status. We know this. We know that it's all based on survival and strength, and the Mongols are going to praise strength. Mongol women could initiate divorce, could remarry, could serve as political advisors. Genghis Khan, or Ogadei Khan's wife, is actually going to take control of the empire at one point, and could be active in the military. Whether that means fighting or not, it depends, but they could be involved. The basic unit was a tribe. Again, that makes sense. This should not be shocking. That's an excellent way of maintaining and controlling and establishing a pastoral group. So tribe, kin, so family-related clans. Leadership is going to be based on courage in battle, is going to be proven, not necessarily just given. Okay, they're going to prize strength. Again, none of this should be shocking. All right, the Mongol Empire is not going to contribute tons culturally to the world. They're not going to bring a religion to the world. I mean, they have a religion, but it's not going to be established into some big major religion like Islam did. They're not going to spread a language. What they do is they're going to actually facilitate, as I said, trade, which is going to facilitate, it's going to bring about cultural diffusion. Maybe not Mongol cultural diffusion, but these different places are going to be sharing ideas. So a larger network of exchange is going to happen, much larger, because of that Silk Road and because so much of the world is now under the control of one group. So this is the other name of Genghis Khan, this guy right here. Okay, obviously this is not a real picture of him. This is fan art that I chose. So Genghis Khan is not able to just, hey, everyone, join me. Again, this is nomadic groups. These are tribes. These are clans. These are groups that are not going to want to be settled down and controlled by one group or one person. Genghis Khan has to prove himself. From a very early age, Genghis Khan, Temujin, is faced with tragedy. His father is killed. His father was political dissident, I guess you could say. He was not loved by everyone, and so he's killed. Genghis Khan is imprisoned at one point. His first wife, is kidnapped and tortured, and he has to make the decision to go back and get her. And he does, which is going to sort of propel him into the choices that he's going to make later on as he decides to bring all of these groups together and take control over them. He does this underhandedly He is going to use betrayal and lies, and he is going to utilize the different troops against each other. It's very brilliant how he's able to bring together these groups. It's not happy bunny time. This is war. This is pretty heavy stuff. When he would conquer a different tribe, a different group, he would incorporate them into the existing forces, into his forces. So he's really smart to bring all of these people together once they've been defeated and make them part of the whole, which is going to help foster this identity, this Mongol identity, and bring them all closer together over time. Some people to know timeline-wise, Genghis Khan's going to live quite a while, but when he dies, it goes to his son, Ogedei. Ogedei is the second great Khan, so he's the son of Genghis Khan, and he becomes the great Khan. He is going to continue Genghis Khan's legacy of expanding the empire. Okay. You're going to see over and over again in these slides, the main goal of Genghis Khan, at the beginning is to get to China. They want China. They want China. They're going to take China. Ogedei is going to continue that expansion into Central Asia. He's going to die suddenly. Eventually, we're going to get Möngke, who is the grandson of Genghis Khan, becomes the fourth Khan. With the death of Ogedei, some things are going to happen. We're going to go down here to Batu. Batu Khan is responsible for the Golden Horde, which is the group of Mongols that are moving west towards Europe. Batu Khan is in Russia, is conquering that area and has eyes on continuing to move west. The sudden death of Ogedei is going to stop that. It's going to pretty much save Western Europe from attack by the Mongols, because Batu Khan stops and he actually goes back to Mongolia, to the Mongol capital, and that I can't pronounce, and he is going to be involved in either trying to become or choosing the next great Khan. The momentum stops at this point. So the momentum west stops around the death of Ogedei because of the necessity of choosing a new Khan, and it never restarts. Möngke becomes the fourth great Khan. He takes Iraq and Syria, and then the great Khan you are probably most aware of, which is Kublai Khan. Kublai Khan becomes the fifth great Khan. He is the grandson of Genghis, and why he's so important is he is going to create the Yuan dynasty. So during the post-classical era, we have the fall of the Han at the end of the classical. We have this time of uncertainty where they're trying to reestablish the dynastic cycle in the Six Dynasties period. Once the dynastic cycle starts, you get the Sui dynasty, the Tang dynasty, the Song dynasty, and then eventually the Yuan. The Yuan dynasty is the Mongol dynasty. They are ethnically Mongol, so they are going to be different in that way from the rest of the dynastic cycles, but also very similar, as we're going to see. So the first thing I need you to email me is I would like you to start with the Han dynasty, list out Six Dynasties period, Tang dynasty, Song dynasty, Six Dynasties, Sui dynasty, don't forget about them, they're short but they're important, Tang dynasty, Song dynasty, there's the dog, and the Yuan dynasty. And I want you to list 3 important facts about each of those. So let me say it again. The first thing you need to email me is 6 dynasties. List 3 important facts about the 6 dynasties period. Then 3 important facts about the Sui dynasty. Ooh, look at this. Then 3 facts about the Tang dynasty. La la la. And then 3 facts about the Song. And don't make the facts like the Sui dynasty was created by Wen Di. Okay, give me something a little bit more substantial than that. Song dynasty. The Song dynasty split in 2. Come on, people, give me something more. And then finally, 3 facts about the Yuan. This will help you study for your quiz. All right, so everybody understand the first thing I'm going to look for you. Mongol expansion. So the 2 reasons for the Mongol expansion is, well, there's 3, I should say. 3 reasons. 3 reasons for the Mongol expansion is, first, these Mongols need someone to fight. They need someone to fight. They aren't supposed to be fighting each other. They need to prove themselves. This sounds a lot like the Bedouins at the beginning of the Islamic Empire. That brings about all of that expansion. Same basic concept. They don't want them to fragment and fall apart. So let's go have them fight other people. They need external resources. The steppes, the central plains of Asia, not abundant with resources. So it was a way to get the stuff that they need to survive. And then most importantly, as I said, most importantly, China. Genghis Khan wanted China. They want China, they want China, they want China. Oh my goodness. So 1209, you need to keep that in mind, the general time period in which the Mongols start their conquest. You don't need to know 1209, but know the beginning of the 1200s was when the Mongols started their conquest. It's going to continue for about 50 years under Genghis Khan, and then it's going to continue with his son Ögedei and grandsons Möngke and Kublai Khan, which we already said. So this is the extent of the Mongol Empire. It is humongous. It is so crazy large. And you can see the different Khanates that I told you. So the Empire of the Great Khan, okay, is going to be the seat of power, and then eventually the Yuan dynasty. These will be the seat of power. You've got this Khanate. I'm not going to try to pronounce this Khanate, Golden Horde. I believe there may be 2 others that are not on here, but I'm not sure. Huge, huge. The Mongols, even though they are incredibly harsh, they also do some really interesting things. They are going to be very organized. Their social structure, their government, their military is going to be very structured. The Mongol military is going to have a very strong and specific chain of command. So you're going to have broken down 10s, 100s, 1000s, 10,000 warriors. So one person will be in charge of 10, and then within that, then that 10 will be within the 100, and then the 100 will be within the 1000, and so on, causing a chain of command. This is going to allow communication and effective leadership and control. And as said earlier, when they're going to conquer an area, those men are going to be broken up and dispersed within the military themselves. Honor in any organization that values strength and leadership and fighting abilities, honor is going to be a huge thing. We've seen that. Death before dishonor. We talked about that with Japan. We've talked about that in other places. If you desert during battle, you will be killed. They don't want you. The unit leaders are going to fight alongside their men, which is also going to foster loyalty. You're more likely to follow someone into battle or to trust someone if they're right there with you fighting. And then all Mongols benefit from the wealth. Again, this is another example, another big picture concept where it is very similar to what we learned in chapter 6 and 7 with the Islamic Empire. Never forget that they are brutal. No matter what else I tell you, do not forget that the Mongols are brutal and ruthless. You had two options when the Mongols showed up at your door, your gates of your city. You had two options. One, surrender right then and there, and you will pay tribute. You will become part of the Mongol Empire, and your men most likely have to go fight, but it's all good. Because the other option is death. Death for every man, woman, child, animal, plant. Burn the city to the ground. Anyone who resisted, which at the beginning people resisted. But news of this spread, and people realized that they have an opportunity to survive. It might not be great. It's still going to be pretty horrific, but they're not going to burn the city to the ground and kill everyone in it. Okay, so it became less and less of an issue. Many of those who heard about the Mongols were afraid, and they voluntarily surrendered before that could happen. Again, very detailed. They're going to have a census that is accounting of the people in the empire. So they're going to know how many people they have. They're going to know how to collect and control their resources and their taxes. So they understand what they have and what they need. Relay stations. So they can, again, foster trade along the Silk Road with these relay stations and also provide very fast communication along the empire, from one end of the empire to the other. So a relay station would be every handful of miles, there would be a building with horses, a stable, probably some people living there, and you would start your journey from wherever. You would get to the first relay station, you would jump off your horse and jump on a fresh horse and continue to ride. It's really hard for you as a person to ride at a full gallop or almost a full gallop for an extended period of time like that, but you can handle it. The horses had to change. So when you change that horse, the horse would stay, get cleaned up, get fed, it would sleep, it would get reshoed if it needed, and it would wait until the next time someone came through that relay station. It was very fast, very efficient. The centralized government, the scribes, the people doing the writing, are going to translate laws into various languages so that all of these different groups understand and know what's expected of them. Politically, they were religiously tolerant, so they didn't really care what religion. They're going to draw from Islamic and Chinese practices for their administration and bureaucratic needs, and intellectuals. Here's where the Mongols are kind of hypocritical. On the one hand, the Mongols are killing millions of people for control and glory, but on the other hand, the Mongols are going to foster intellectuals. They are going to take intellectuals from the conquered places and bring them back to the Mongol capital and keep them there to learn and to teach and to research and to do whatever it is that they want to do as intellectuals or as artisans. They also love art and entertainment. And so they're going to foster these cultural developments and this flourishing of cultural ideas, at the same time killing so many people. So it's odd. This is a time known as Pax Mongolica. You're going to see that is on your study guide, so I would definitely know that. They're going to foster economics. We know this. They're fostering trade. So, yeah, we've talked about this already. We also know that the goal is China. The goal is always going to be China. So here are these Mongols, these outsiders, these barbarians coming in and taking China. China's not going to be happy with this. The Chinese are not going to be good with this. The Confucianists are not going to be okay with this. There's not going to be a whole lot of meshing of the Mongols and the ethnic Chinese, but the Mongols are going to try to accommodate as much as they feel they can as they create their dynasty, the Yuan dynasty. Okay, so they're actually going to take the dynastic cycle's name, create their own. They're going to use a lot of the same administrative practices, tax systems, postal system. They're going to do a lot of the same things that the Song were doing. They're going to move their capital from Mongolia to Beijing. Okay. They are still very harsh. Again, don't forget about that. Exploitative. They are foreign and they are resented by China. Okay. The Chinese are never going to be okay with this. The Mongols do not become Chinese, and the Chinese do not become Mongols. Remember that. So here's Kublai Khan. As we said, grandson of Genghis. He is going to create the Yuan dynasty. He, not Genghis Khan. Kublai Khan is the one that creates the Yuan dynasty. And he's going to do what most first rulers of a dynasty does. Improve roads, build canals, lower taxes, support scholars. I love that he limits the death penalty and torture. Okay, it's still the Mongols. Mongols are going to live their separate lives. This is a yurt. That is a yurt. Yurt. I swear half of this is me just writing things on here. That is a yurt. A lot of Mongols are going to continue living and living their lives in these yurts. They're not going to try to be Chinese or look Chinese or live like Chinese. They don't use the civil service exam. They don't learn how to speak Chinese. They are separate. This is not a good way. So, question 2. Why do you think the Mongols chose to keep themselves separate? And is this a successful choice? Can this be a successful way of running an empire, any empire, but especially an empire like China? So why do you think? This is a you think situation. I just want you to think about this. Why do you think they chose to keep separate and not become more like the Chinese? And at the very end of all of that, if they had become more Chinese, do you think the Yuan dynasty would have lasted longer? So let me say it again. Why do you think the Mongols chose to stay separate? Was this a good choice? And could the Yuan dynasty have lasted longer had they chosen to become more like the Chinese? Mid-1300s is going to be the decline. It's a very standard decline like we're going to see most places. They're just too big for their britches. Rising prices. There's going to be plague. And the peasants are going to lose their love. You need to read about Marco Polo. Go read about him. There's going to be questions about Marco Polo on the quiz. He is going to travel for about 3 decades. He is involved with Kublai Khan, not Genghis. He's going to keep a diary. And this is the biggest way that the Europeans are going to learn about the East, about the Mongols, about the East in general, about China in general. Gender roles, we already started to talk about that. Mongol women are definitely higher status. They're not equal, but a higher status. They're going to, just like everything else, remain aloof, stay away from Chinese women. They don't agree with the way Chinese women act. They don't agree with foot binding. Confucianists. I want you, the third thing, to give me a little paragraph about how do you think the Confucianists felt about the Mongols. So right here it says uncouth barbarians, so uncivilized barbarians. What's the Confucius reaction to all of this? How are they handling this? How does this involve Neo-Confucianism? Okay, so write me a little paragraph, 3 or 4 sentences about Confucianists and the Mongols. Lower classes are generally going to like the Mongols at the beginning because they're going to do a lot for them. Look through this slide, it's pretty straightforward. Persia. So the area that was Persia, actually the Abbasids, in 1258, you need to know that date. 1258 is the end of the Abbasid dynasty with the sack of Baghdad. Okay, 1258, the sack of Baghdad. It is nasty. 200,000, as you see, 200,000 people are going to be killed during the siege of, during the sacking of Baghdad. It is horrific. All right. But what happens to the Mongols in the Middle East is a lot of them that go and help with the sacking of Baghdad, with the taking over of Asia Minor, are going to stay. These Mongol men are going to have traveled there, they're going to fight there, and then they're going to stay. They're going to adopt Islam, they're going to convert to Islam. They are going to learn to speak Persian. So unlike in China where they don't learn to speak the Chinese language, they don't accept the philosophies, in Persia they do. They are going to stop being nomadic and start farming, and they're going to marry local women. This is a big difference. And so there is a huge Mongol identity in this region at this time. It's not great for the region either. Many peasants are going to be neglected. Much of the land is going to be neglected, as well as irrigation channels. So it's not good times for Asia Minor. Russia is going to be different. When the Golden Horde takes Russia, they are going to they're not going to occupy Russia. They're going to take it over and require tribute, require men as slaves, men and women as slaves, and cause a lot of devastation, but they're not going to occupy Russia, which is different. This is going to influence Russia quite a bit, and even though I said at the beginning that there's not a lot of cultural influence that the Mongols bring to other places, this is the only exception. They are going to adopt Mongol weapons, court practices, rituals, the taxation system, their dress. They're going to dress like the Mongols. It is one of those few places that the Mongols are going to have a large influence. It starts to decline at the end of the 1400s, so it lasts for a really long time, longer than the Yuan dynasty is around, longer than this giant Mongol empire is around. What happens is the Prince of Moscow, Ivan the Great, is going to decide he's not going to pay tribute to the Mongols anymore, which is super dangerous. That usually would get you attacked or killed. But at this point, the Mongols are on a massive decline. They are not able to hold on to Russia anymore, and so Ivan looks like a hero. It's pretty much the same. Heavy devastation. Heavy devastation. This is the Golden Horde. They do not occupy Russia because Russia doesn't really offer a whole lot to them. And you know, they could have kept going into the West through Russia, but as we said, they're unable to continue. It's too large of an empire, and there's too few actual Mongols to control this large of empire, and so it's not going to last. Also, settled populations are going to start having access to firearms eventually, and that is also going to make it very difficult for these Mongol cavalry to fight. So you'll see on the study guide the word cavalry. That is, the Mongols are going to be purely cavalry, which is horseback. They are brilliant horsemen. They can eat, sleep, do whatever they need to do on a horse, okay? Highly skilled horsemen, and fighting from horseback is a lot easier and more effective than fighting on the ground, especially if you're on horseback and everybody else is on the ground. Just, whew. All right. So that is the Mongols. All right, as I said, you have throughout this 3 very convoluted tasks at hand. So first, you need to outline and give me 3 facts of each of those Chinese dynasties that we've talked about during the post-classical. This is going to be huge for preparing for the quiz on Monday. Second, I want you to tell me about the inability for the Mongols and the Chinese to come together and why they stayed separate. And third, how do you think the Confucian scholars felt about the Mongols? Okay, give me real answers, not just lame couple of words. Do some thought. You have a fun snow day. It's now actually snowing outside. Please email me these answers, and I will be on my email all day, and I will send right back your study guide. Good luck. Text me with any questions, email me with any questions. As I said, I will be on my email all day. Bye, guys.